Every year at Miami University, we survey our students who we admitted for the prior year. And we do that to find out what were the reasons why they chose to apply to the university, and if they enrolled, why did they enroll, and if they did not enroll, why did they not enroll. And about 10 years ago, I was reviewing this data, and I came across the response from one student who said that the single reason why he chose not to enroll at Miami University was due to the fact that there was no Chipotle in the Oxford area, a situation that we have since rectified. What is important to families and their decision-making process is vitally important to Miami University. It's important so that we understand what we need to do to recruit those students so that Miami can meet its mission to educate and thrive for many more centuries to come. Competition for students is keen. The National Center for Education Statistics says that there are just under 4,000 degree-granting institutions across the United States. In 2019, there were 3.8 million high school graduates, a number which is expected to grow to 3.9 million by 2025. That number is not growing due to increased number of high school graduates, but rather more students staying in high school to finish out their time. And then after that, the number is expected to fall to 3.5 million high school graduates in 2037, the furthest out that the projection goes. But even beyond 2037, I don't look for that number to increase. Since the end of World War II, the U.S. population has been on a slow decline as the number of births have been decreasing year over year over year. In fact, in 2018, the birth rate hit a 32-year slump. And recent data suggests that coming through the pandemic, that number is only going to continue to decline. In the fourth quarter of 2020, U.S. live births slipped even further than projected, further behind 2019, which was already depressed from 2018. So as we think about our 3.8 million high school graduates, the Bureau of Labor Statistics suggests that 66.2% will be college going. They'll elect to go to college in the fall after their high school graduation, leaving 2.5 million students entering the college recruitment space. In Ohio, in 2019, there were 136 high school graduates, comprising of about 63.2% that would go to college based on the BLS data, leaving just 87,300 that will enter the college selection process. And there's more to that number that meets the eye. For students who elect to attend college, the vast majority attend a college or university that is close to home, a trend which is in fact increasing. In the most recent data available, 56.2% of students that enrolled at a four-year public or university lived within a 1-hour drive time of their college, and 70% lived within 2 hours. And this brings me to my point. What's top of mind for families as they move through the consumer decision process of selecting a college or university, and what does that look like? Well, McKinsey & Associates posits that in the traditional consumer decision process, a person starts with the awareness of a large number of brands, which then gets refined to a smaller number of brands with they might have greater familiarity. That then moves into the consideration stage in which the consumer is considering a smaller subset of brands that finally leads to a purchase and then finally leads to a loyalty decision. In reality, given today's consumer and the information that's available to them via the internet and other means, a traditional linear model probably does not hold up very well. And so McKinsey & Associates suggests that the decision-making process for consumers is actually a big loop. It begins with the consumer considering a finite number of brands based on recent experience or expectations or word of mouth, that then moves to a period of active consideration where they're adding to or subtracting brands from their consideration mix based on what they learn. Ultimately, the consumer makes the decision and then immediately begins this post-purchase process where they think about the decision that they just made, the experience of that decision, and then it becomes a smaller feedback loop in which they make decisions around a loyalty in which they decide whether or not they will repurchase that product. In enrollment management, we've historically thought of this as an enrollment funnel, a funnel that begins with prospects. Prospects are students that we are working to engage to Miami University, and then the student raises their hand to say, I'm interested in learning more about Miami University, which becomes an inquiry. Finally, they move to applicants, followed by admitted, followed by deposits, and then finally enrolls. And in reality, this enrollment funnel does not really hold up well against the consumer decision-making process that exists today. In fact, I would suggest that it mirrors more closely the decision loop process that McKinsey & Associates posits, where a prospective student and their family begin with a large number of institutions that they know a little bit about, which moves then to an active evaluation stage in which they're adding to or subtracting institutions based on a variety of factors. It could be the campus visit, it could be the experience with a staff member or a faculty member, or things like, does the school offer the program that I'm interested in? Finally, through that decision process, the student moves to the point of decision and they eventually enroll. And as soon as they enroll and begin to matriculate onto campus, then the secondary loop begins where they reconsider, did I make the right decision? Have I selected the right college for myself? Do I fit in here? And do I see myself here for the next four years? From this then, what do we know about our own students from our own data as they have worked through this process? Well, in the most recent 2021 data, we know that on average, students applied to one more additional college or university than compared to 2020. Of our enrolled students, they applied to an average of 6 institutions, and those that chose not to enroll applied to an average of 8 institutions. We also know that 44% became aware of Miami in their sophomore year of high school, and that 70% of them began their college search process between their freshman and sophomore year. And 65% of those students had finalized their search by the end of the junior year, meaning that by the time they packed their books up and went home for the summer break at the conclusion of their junior year, they knew exactly which institutions they were applying to, and they were not likely to alter from that list. And then once they knew something about Miami, how did they learn about Miami? How did they first become familiar with Miami? Well, 49% said that they heard about Miami through a family member or friend. 4% said that a teacher played a role, and 17% cited an email or other Miami communication as a factor that led them to become aware of Miami. Once they knew about Miami, how did they learn more about Miami? 29% learned more from a campus visit, 10% learned more from one of our websites, and 10% said that they learned more from their family and friends. And when it was time to make the decision about where to go to college, 50%, more than 50%, make the decision between April 1 and May 1. And when they're making that decision, there are a lot of voices at the table. Greater than 78% of our students said that their parents had a high to medium impact on their decision to attend Miami. 41% said that friends had a high to medium impact on their decision to attend Miami, and 28% said that siblings had a high to medium impact on their decision to attend Miami. And when they make the decision, what are the most important factors? Well, Miami data mirrors the national data, and 80% of the reasons most often cited fall into one of 7 categories, with affordability being by far the greatest issue that is impacting college decision today, followed closely by programs and majors, reputation of the institution, outcomes of graduates, and then whether or not they feel like they fit in and what is the location of the school. When we think about the affordability factor at Miami, in our data, 28% cited cost as the single most important factor in their decision whether or not to attend the university. 78% said that it was one of several factors, and 15% said that cost was only a minor factor. And then beyond that, we see the exact same reasons that we see in the national data: majors, reputation, career outcomes, feeling of fit, and location. So then, knowing all of this, how do we begin to position ourselves for an even stronger future at Miami University? First, we'll continue to offer scholarships, since we know that affordability is the most important factor facing families today, but we'll offer our scholarships in new and more effective ways. And coming through the pandemic, research continues to show that cost and affordability of institutions are the thing that is most at top of mind for families. Second, working with our partners in university communication and marketing, we're working to push out Miami's awareness to students further out geographically and at an earlier stage of the cycle, so that they become aware of Miami even earlier to match what we're seeing in our data. And we're making significant investments in our digital space, since websites are critically important to the college search process, while at the same time we're maintaining our traditional print and email communications to parents and other constituencies. Third, we'll continue to build on our career success and return on investments. The Career Center for Exploration and Success is working with faculty to integrate the idea of career exploration from the moment the student enters Miami University until they graduate. So at the moment at orientation, we're talking about career exploration and outcomes to the moment they graduate. And at the same time, we'll continue to push our superior value with a 97% placement rate, meaning that 97% of our most recent graduates were either employed full-time or in graduate school within 6 months of their graduation from Miami, with an average starting salary of just under $57,000. Fourth, we'll continue to develop and implement new programs. We are using the data that's available to us from the pre-SAT or PSAT, where students list the academic areas of interest for them, and then also taking that and looking at the most recent data available to us from what employers are seeking for in the job market. And we'll take that data and continue to do what we've already done, which is make significant investments in our curriculum to add everything from robotics to analytics to new master's programs, all with the goal of meeting the demand of our students and our students' future employers. And last, we will continue to build infrastructure to support new programs, from additional HR actions and hiring the right folks to the positions, to building out new buildings like the McVeigh Data Science Building and the Clinical Health Science Building, all to support those investments. Miami University is strong. We've proven that we can rise up and meet the challenges that are placed before us. We are working to strengthen our brand, and we're actively scanning the horizon for new and promising opportunities. And we are prepared and ready to meet all of the enrollment challenges that lie ahead of us. Thank you.